It's beginning to get that time of year again. The people are beginning to focus in and prepare for the greatest season in all of sports, college football. The game, college football 26, it just came out. Everybody's excited. The hype is beginning to build. So let's go through 10 big games in college football this season. So it's really no particular order. If you want to put them in order, put them in the description below. Be very interested to see where the importance of these games rank to you. So, in no particular order, the 10 matchups in college football that I find very intriguing. The first one, fairly obvious. Ohio State, Texas, in the Horseshoe. Arch Manning's first start as the guy, not the backup, but the guy at the University of Texas. Then you have Ohio State, the reigning, defending, undisputed national champions. They are replacing quite a bit of guys. But they have Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. Now, we are believing that it's going to be Julian Sain under center for the Buckeyes. That's what everybody's thinking. And I'm going off this assumption as well. This game, yeah, for the national championship, in the grand scheme of things, win or lose, not going to play that big of a factor. I think both these teams make the playoffs, whether this game is win or lose on either side. But this is a major tone setter for the season. You're not easing into anything. Both these teams, brand new, shiny new quarterbacks. One of them's got the name. The other one has a lot of talent, a lot of potential. And you have to think, is there a little bit of extra oomph to this? This series, Ohio State and Texas, they're 2-2 going into this matchup. Ohio State, I believe, no, they're 1-1 in the last two. I'm trying to remember, because year one it was Vince Young against Troy Smith. Year two it was Troy Smith and Colt McCoy. Year three, the third time, it was like 2009-ish. And I believe Texas won that game. And then last year, you had Ohio State beating Texas. So this is the game 5, a rubber match in the Horseshoe, the first of a home and home series. And I mean, I don't want to say there's a lot riding on this game, because in reality there isn't. But it is a couple of blue bloods, Texas looking for revenge, Ohio State looking to reinvent themselves. And there's in both states, God, guns, and football. These are the two states that amplify those three traits: God, guns, and football. And again, very, very exciting matchup. And I cannot wait to watch this game. It's on the big noon kickoff. So unfortunately it's going to be at noon, because who always likes a top 5 matchup at high noon when it's not 1974. I mean, hopefully one day that gets fixed. It's just not going to get fixed in time for this game. Now, I have heard rumors that this game, they were trying to opt it into Sunday night, into the Sunday night slot, and Texas said no. So, I don't know if that's true. All I heard was rumors about it. But if there's anybody to be blamed, you look at Bevo, you look at the Longhorns. The number 2 matchup that I'm looking forward to. And this one has a bit more implications. It is Michigan in Norman against Oklahoma. Why is there more implications, you may ask? It's still a non-conference game. So, in the grand scheme of things, it's not do or die. But for Brett Venables, oh, is it ever. This is a must-win for Brett Venables. You have a Michigan team with who we expect is going to be a true freshman quarterback. And Venables just came off a year where Oklahoma's been embarrassed left, right, and center. This is a absolute must-win for Brett Venables to remain as the head coach of Oklahoma. And this is just the first step to that. Now, Michigan, they're on the road with a true freshman quarterback. If they lose, they lose. All well. It's a good test for the youngster. But this will be a very good test for the Michigan defense. Oklahoma, they're bringing in, I think, some of Washington State's crew, the coach and their quarterback. And so this game, Oklahoma has to treat it as do or die. Because should Oklahoma lose this game, Brett Venables' seat gets unbelievably hot in that game. That will be looking more and more impossible by the minute. Should Oklahoma lose this game, becomes a even bigger must-win in the Red River rivalry. Must-win game for Oklahoma. So, and then, for a number of different reasons, LSU versus Clemson. This game has a lot of implications for Brian Kelly's job security. Now, obviously, LSU, there's enough beef on that schedule to bounce back. However, this continues to set a very bad precedent that LSU has started since Joe Burrow took off for the NFL. LSU has not won a home opener since 2019. That's a problem. And this is a 110% must-win for Brian Kelly to be able to set the tone, because later on in the season, you are playing Florida. I think it's at Florida. You're playing Alabama. And you also have another tough one. I can't remember off the top of my head. Now for Clemson, this is a big game as well, because you need that meat on the schedule. The ACC is not providing that as of right now. Obviously, it can change as the season grows and progresses, and we see a few teams begin to emerge from obscurity of the ACC. And one of those teams is involved in my next matchup in college football. The only team that repeats on this list, Clemson at North Carolina. As everybody knows, Clemson is the boogeyman. of the ACC. They are the gold standard. They are the bar. North Carolina, they have the pro version of the bar, the gold standard, the greatest of all time. Bill Belichick roaming those sidelines. And it is not an unfathomable thing to think that both these teams could be unbeaten going into this game. And if they are both unbeaten, with Belichick on the sidelines, you have Clemson coming up from South Carolina in this battle of the unbeatens. Oh my God. This will set the stage for the ACC the rest of the season, because I do believe there are multiple dark horses running around in the ACC. And I will be discussing one later on in this list. But from the ACC dark horse to a couple of Big Ten dark horses, USC versus Illinois. That is my next matchup. Lincoln Riley's seat is unbearably hot. It is hotter than running around at Talladega, running around at Talladega, and the errand's $4.99. Your cold suit's no longer working, so now it's just an extra sweater vest. Oh, and the AC blowing in your racing helmet. That's not working either. It is that hot. USC gave a lot to get this guy, and he has progressively regressed throughout his tenure at USC. And that defense, it has been absolutely atrocious. Now, it did improve in 2024 from 2023, but it has to be better. Illinois, they got a lot of pieces coming back. Brett Bielema, he's still got the headset on. He knows how to win. He knows how to win Big Ten championships. He knows how to win Big Ten games. He's done it a lot. He did it quite a bit last year. He did quite a bit the year before, nearly upsetting Michigan in his first season with Illinois. And this would be a huge statement game that could roll into their game for the Buck. If Illinois is able to knock off USC, they desperately need this game because they have Michigan they got Michigan around there. They have Oregon on the schedule. USC needs this game in order to achieve any of the goals that they have in this season. This game is an absolute must-win for USC. Illinois, one of the biggest games of their program's history in quite a while. Because to knock off a team like USC will do absolute wonders for this program's morale, this program's esteem, and the confidence level of being able to knock off a school, even if it's a little down. It's safe to say they're a little down. It is still a massive confidence boost to be able to beat a blue blood program like USC. Now, from the blue blood to the underdogs. The dark horses I talked about earlier, this is where they become not so dark. Michigan State travels to the Northeast, to Boston College, play the Golden Eagles. This is a tone-setting game. This is where it may not be the coming out party for the winner of this game, but hey, it is it's a feather in the cap, and it begins that momentum roll. Both these teams will obviously be, I think, 1-0 going into this game. Neither one play anybody that's big, scary, whatever. But you have Jonathan Smith from Michigan State, a very underrated college coach. Very good at what he does. This is year 2 where the pieces begin to fall into place. And you can really start building upon that foundation you built in year 1. Boston College, a similar situation. You got a tremendous, you have a above average NFL coach in Bill O'Brien heading up the program. This is also year 2 for him, I believe. I think it's year 2. Might be year 3. But nonetheless, Boston College. It's time for them to begin the ascension with where they are in the coaching hiring cycle. It's time for them to begin to ascend and let all those pieces begin to fall into place. And this game is going to be looked back, especially if one, if not both, are contenders for their respective conferences late in the season. This game's going to be looked back on to point at, to say, hey, we played a good non-conference schedule. We played Michigan State. We played Boston College. And this is going to be the starting point for one of these two teams as they begin their ascension from obscurity to stardom. Because I believe one, if not both, will be real players for their respective conference titles by the end of the season. All right. The next matchup, from the dark horses to the favorites. Oregon going into Happy Valley to play Drew Aller and the Penn State Nittany Lions. This game is absolutely nothing like the Ohio State-Texas game. There are major implications for losses and wins for the Nittany Lions. If Penn State cannot beat Oregon at home under the lights on NBC, you really need to begin to question, and Penn State fans have been doing that for years at this point. But this has to start going to the administration. Is James Franklin the guy that can take Penn State to a national championship? Well, he was one drive away from doing it last year, but he didn't. Penn State has not beaten Ohio State since 2019, 18, 16, somewhere in that ballpark. And it was a fluke win on top of that. Penn State hasn't won a major big-time matchup in God knows how long. They have gone 10. They have gone 10-2. Before last year, they have gone 10-2. The last 3 years, losing to Ohio State and Michigan. Lost in Ann Arbor, they lost in Columbus, they lost in Happy Valley. And they've lost every different way that you possibly could. From Ohio State's high-flying circus spectacular offense to Michigan's gritty, ground and pound, punch you square in the mouth offense. Now, I put this game over the Penn State-Ohio State game because A, this game is in Happy Valley, and 2, this one is the first one of Ohio State and Oregon. This is game 1. And if Penn State is able to get the monkey off the back then then we begin to circle Ohio State on that schedule because now that monkey's off the back, but not until then. And this is going to be Penn State's best opportunity because Oregon is still going to have the brand, the respect, the recognition, but they have a new quarterback under center. And Dante Moore, he's got some experience, don't get me wrong, but playing in Happy Valley is very, very different than playing at the LA Coliseum, playing in Berkeley, playing um play, playing at Stanford. It is a totally different feel. Happy Valley under the lights, the whiteout. It is going to be Autzen Stadium East. And the Penn State faithful know this, that this is the biggest game of the season before Ohio State. And this is their one and only true test before Ohio State. And this midterm exam needs to be passed. Or that final exam in Columbus is going to be absolute hell. All right. My next one, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, Georgia at Auburn. And why is this game on my list, you may ask? Much like with Oklahoma, much like with LSU Clemson, much like with USC Illinois, Hugh Freeze needs to win this game. The offseason, it's been the opposite of buzz. It has been an absolute crap show. Auburn's taken shots from Golfers Digest. Oh, Hugh Freeze is out on the golf course too much to be recruiting. The recruiting numbers, they absolutely show it. Reporters are saying Auburn's offering fake money to recruits. They have been losing recruits left and right. I mean, this is a very, very massive game. This is a must-win for Auburn. For Georgia, this is also a must-win for them because we don't know how many safety nets you're going to get to get into the SEC championship game. And being on the road in a hostile environment against a bitter rival. And the Auburn faithful know this. They know what's on the table and what's at stake. And Hugh Freeze has to get this win to at least keep the critics at bay for a few more weeks until the Iron Bowl. But this game is a absolute 110% need to win for Auburn. And then and also, I could be wrong, but I think this is the first big boy road test for Gunnar Stockton, the presumptive starting quarterback for Georgia. So, this is Auburn's best shot to get that big win with an inexperienced quarterback on the road for the first time. And the chips are down. Hugh Freeze's job is on the line in this game. And the only way he saves his job, should he fail in the Deep South's oldest rivalry, is having to go beat Bama. That's the only recourse for this. So, to the next game. And this is because there isn't much meat left on the bone with this next matchup. There ain't much meat left on these schedules for Notre Dame and Miami in South Bend, the Catholics versus the convicts. So, Miami, they do not play Clemson. They do not play North Carolina. They do not play, well, I think they play Boston College. But there isn't a whole lot of meat on that bone for Miami. They do play Florida, but they play Florida at Hard Rock. They don't play in the swamp. So they're not going to get that rub. Even though I think Florida is a improved team. But this is an absolute must-win for Miami. Notre Dame, this is a tone setter. USC is still down. So it is very iffy on whether there's going to be anything left on their particular schedule. So, this game, you got Carson Beck starting for Miami. Notre Dame, I haven't seen who's starting for them, but they do. But the way that they play quarterback, I'm not going to say he's not important, but as long as he doesn't mess it up, they can win every game that they play this year. But this game, it's a must-win for both of them simply because after this game, there isn't a whole lot of meat left on the bone. So, and then number 10. The 10th matchup that I am looking forward to in 2025, Arizona State versus Utah. Yes, Utah. The Utes had a down year last year. I do think they're going to bounce back. Utah does not stay down very long. They have a great coach in Kyle Whittingham. And this is the game where they show that they're back. They have to show that they're back. They didn't perform well last year in the new conference. I think they had a bunch of injury issues. And you have the defending conference champions in Utah. Arizona State, they got a lot of hype. They got a lot of promise this year. Even though losing Scatterboot. They have a lot of promise. There's a lot of hype. I think it's who's their coach? Dillingham? Kyle Dillingham, I believe. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. He's done a tremendous job at Arizona State. And he is building something special. But this is one of the few games where you're not going to be able to outcoach him. Because Kyle Whittingham is that damn good. So, it's not so much of a show me game for Arizona State as it is for Utah. This is Utah's coming back party. They win this game, they are back. Arizona State wins this game, Utah falls by the wayside. And the spiral and the unexpected downfall, which I know it's a little harsh, but I don't know what other words to use. The sudden, unexpected downfall of Utah continues. Because I think they got a couple rough games ahead of them. So does Arizona State. Arizona State, they have Iowa State in the windshield after this game. Not too long from then. So this is it's a big game in the Pac-12. Or in the Pac-12. Holy cow. Whew. It's Monday as I'm recording this. Please give me a break. But in the Big 12, Arizona State has Texas Tech, which I believe the week after, that's going to be a big game too. And that's a potential coming out party for Texas Tech. But it's a big, so, and I doubt Arizona State wants to use their safety net on Utah. So, it's going to be a matchup that is going to be certainly exciting to watch. And this is, well, I'm going to say part one. We got plenty of time between now and the start of the season to be having having matchups that I'm looking forward to in the college football season. When I was making this list earlier, I got to 25 and I was like, oh, crap. This video is going to be way too freaking long. I gotta find a way to cut this down. So, those are my top 10 matchups that I'm looking forward to. Ohio State, Texas, because it's a tone setter. Michigan versus Oklahoma, because Brett Venables' job could very well be on the line in this game, or could set the stage for it. LSU, Clemson, season opener. LSU has not won a season opening game since 2019. And Clemson, they need to remind people that they are back, and this is a national championship caliber team. Clemson at North Carolina, because this is Belichick's big first test. And it is in Chapel Hill. USC, Illinois. Both big games. Both. This game is huge for both teams who want to accomplish their goals and be around towards the end for the college football playoff. Illinois, one of my dark horses in the Big Ten. USC, it's USC. They can't be losing to Illinois. Michigan State, Boston College, both of them potential setups for their coming out parties, because I think both these teams are dark horses in their respective conferences. Oregon, Penn State, it's a must-win for Penn State because Penn State hasn't won a big, quote-unquote, big game in God knows how long. Georgia versus Auburn, Hugh Freeze's job is on the line, and it's in Auburn. Miami versus Notre Dame, simply because this is the best game that either one of them will play all year. This is their toughest opponent that they will play all year, and potentially Miami for Miami until their conference championship game, if they make it. And then Arizona State, Utah, because this could very well be Kyle Whittingham's reminder to college football that he is still alive, he is still kicking, and they still have a team in Utah. So, that is all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any college football, NFL, Formula One, NASCAR. And if you're listening on podcast, please make sure to leave a 5-star review and hit the follow button. That way, it downloads every episode, and it is readily available to you once I drop the episode. So, until next time, see ya.